With this particular thought process, let me start with the presentation. The topic which I'll be discussing today is on thinking behind prescribing Rasakalpas. So it is always important wherein we are very much emphasized or we are very much stressed upon to see what's actually going on surrounding us. At least here in Ayurveda, in India, we find various sects of people. There are few people who are really experienced and fascinated in treating with the herbal set of drugs in Ayurveda. There are set of people who are primarily focusing on the Rasaushadhis. There are few set of people who are more emphasizing on the Panchakarma practice. There are few set of people who go for the other sects of treatment, like you have Panchabhautik Chikitsa, some people go for Ratna Chikitsa, some people are there where they do only the Visha Chikitsa. So you have various sects of people. It doesn't mean like it's a Taratama Bhava. All are equally important because all are the hands of Ayurveda. We all are under only one umbrella, and that is Ayurveda. You don't injure the patient, and you support his medical assistance, then you are said to be an excellent doctor, irrespective of whatever the field you might use. Among the various fields which we have enumerated till now into the fields of Ayurveda, into the various zones of Ayurveda. So with this, I would like to start with my presentation as the thinking behind prescribing Rasakalpas. Whenever it comes to the streamline to the Rasakalpas or to the Rasaushadhis, it is very much important wherein the people speak about in the number of thoughts, because we are fascinated to read about the modern journals and articles. Heavy metal toxicity, renal toxicity, it causes some alteration in the blood chemistry, then it causes some problems. Is it really safe? We have 101 doubts regarding the Rasakalpas. So this is another way where I would like to really thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to share these thoughts, because today I'm not speaking about any disease. I'm not speaking about any shrotas. I'm not speaking about a particular disorder. I'm not speaking about a treatment modality. Today I'm specifically asked to give a thought process, like how should I practice Rasa Shastra? What is the thinking process I need to keep before I start a Rasa practice? Is this a safe module or not? Or do I need to think about a number of factors? So with this particular attitude and with this particular background, let us start with today's presentation, thinking behind prescribing the Rasakalpas. Before starting the presentation, I would like to salutate Lord Shiva, who is the author, profounder, follower, and a Vaidya from the Rasa division. He is a person who has encouraged, and the Supreme Lord of Yoga. Yoga doesn't only mean about the yoga practice which we do. It also means the Rasa Yogas, the formulations. He is a profounder of all these formulations. He is a profounder of the whole science. He is a person who has presented this particular science on towards to the earth. Most of the textbooks, whenever you read, especially with that of the Rasa Shastra, most of them in the last verse or in the last shloka of the chapter where he mentions about Uma Maheshwara Samvade is a terminology what you get. Most of the books, the classical textbooks, not the recent authors. In the sense, it was a conversation between the Uma and Maheshwara, wherein it was being documented either by Acharya Nandi or some Shivagana or some followers of Lord Shiva. And that particular thought process was being documented in the form of a particular textbook. And these were the teachings by Lord Shiva to Parvati. So these are documented verses wherein the science is said to be propounded right from the period of Lord Shiva, irrespective of whatever might that be. So with this particular salutation to the Adi Bishak, the Lord Shiva, the points which we'll be discussing, like which are commonly raised by the rasa practice, usually wherein the people will have all these questions. So there were many questions being raised very frequently to me by various Vaidyas. So among that, I have tried to enumerate only 13 points which I'll be discussing today. Are they safe, or the rasa practice or the rasa medicines are safe? How long can I give? How long can I prescribe a rasa medicine? Should I give only one or more rasa medicines together? Can I prescribe rasa and herbal medicines together? Any contraindications in specific to age, condition, or in any disease? Any general guidelines for the common dosage forms in the rasa medicines? Do we need to think about the dosha, dusha, kala, vaya, etc. during the rasa practice? Can I prescribe them only in emergency conditions or also in general conditions in routine clinical practice? Or should I prescribe it only in emergency conditions? Are these the medicines meant for the emergency conditions or the critically ill patients? Or when should I choose Parpati, Kalve Rasayana, Kopi Pakwa Rasayana, Potali Kalpas? Is there any skeletal work wherein I can demarcate myself that where should I prescribe various rasa yogas in the clinical practice? What if the blood reports suggest a rise in a particular element concentration during the rasa drugs intake? Say, for example, you're taking arsenic, you're taking lead, you're taking mercury in your in the form of a medicine. And if in case if it happens like it's more than the normal limits in the blood picture, as a rasa Vaidya, should I really worry about that particular concept or oversight it? The next question is Rasa Shastra is a non-clinical department? Should I believe in the textbooks and publications or publications? Discussion and interactions. So if at all you have any other points to discuss, that is the 14th point. We will be discussing any points which could be raised by any of the participants or the organizers for that sake. So we'll start one after the other and try to interact with the events, whatever is happening. The first one, are they really safe? Are the rasa medicines really safe? Are we supposed to really practice the rasa chikitsa in our routine clinical practice? The first thing which I would like to say, in case if they were toxic, they wouldn't have been existed for centuries together. During salutation, I have brought into the notice about the discussion between the Lord Shiva and Parvati. They were definitely not from past 100 years at least. Lord Shiva and Parvati would have been resided quite time ago. So the long history wherein you find the references of the rasa yogas right from the period of Vedas, Samhitas, also in the post Samhita period, and extensively to the maximum level from 8th century to 17th century. Possibly it's called as a golden era of the Rasa Shastra, wherein many books were written. In case if you can know, there are 600 textbooks related to Rasa Shastra. There are 600 textbooks. We are reading hardly some 3 to 5 textbooks or 10 books or 20 books at the maximum in our BMS or MD in Rasa Shastra. Hardly we are referring only some 10 or 20 books related to Rasa Shastra. But there are nearly 600 textbooks related to Rasa Shastra. I myself have given a project report, like I can present at least 1,000 talapatras related to Rasa Shastra, which are unpublished materials, which were written in the Indian languages right from the centuries. So this is also another history stating like how long the history about Rasa Shastra is about. So do we need to think that in case if there is fake science, in the case if this science is going to hurt someone or hamper the organs of the humans, or in case if it is going to kill any person, will so many people in India write so many books? There are more than 1 lakh formulations regarding to Rasa Shastra. When I go and when you have only 64 drugs dealing, with the Taratama Bhava, with various permutations and combinations, we have more than 1 lakh formulations. Do you think so? Something like in case if it's a toxic science wherein by giving some Mrutyunjara or Arogyavardhini, the person is going to die, it is going to kill his kidney, it is going to kill the person, it is going to hamper his blood pictures, if it is going to make some person to deteriorate, will the science exist for such a long time? You can compare it to any other sciences. You can compare it to any other things. Say, for example, you go to a particular shop where he deals with all fake items. Do you expect that person to do his business for more number of years, or for he need to shift away or pack away his luggage immediately? It is something like, unless and until you are really satisfying the health setup, you're really addressing the health issues, your science is safe. Necessity is the mother of inventions. People found it was essential to practice with the Rasa Shastra, so it was being discovered, and it was being documented very significantly from 8th century onwards. In case if it was being found like they were self-satisfied, the science wouldn't have been evolved at all. Unless and until you find the essentiality, then you need to definitely see like the science has to evolve. I had been travel very long distances in various geological surveys across the country and also elsewhere other than India. I have seen some thousands of tribes practicing Rasa Shastra as a daily regimen. When you enter into the deepest forest of the Nallamala forest at Andhra Pradesh, you find people are practicing Rasa Shastra as a regular clinical protocol. They are illiterates. They haven't possibly seen the civilians in lifetime. They hardly come into the city zones. They're always in the forest. They practice so much of Rasa Shastra there. We being educated, we have n number of doubts. And they are also protecting the patients. Possibly we close up all the institutes related to Rasa Shastra in India for another 50 or 100 years. Still the science will exist because of these tribes where they are practicing Rasa Shastra to such a severe extent. So this is the importance of Rasa Shastra. When the science is fake, when the science is set to injure any person, will so many people practice? Will it show its existence from 8th century? Forget about the Vedic period. We none of us were been there, or you don't have a proper documentation, if at all you want to think so. 8th century onwards are the books where we have referred, like Rasaratnakara, you have read about the Rasarnava. Don't you think so? Like the books have been available right from the period of 8th century, means the science has existed to that an extent as to challenge the health setups right from that period to the present day of 2020. So this history itself is really significant for us to understand. The science is really wonderful and it has to show its existence. The number of books is a second example where I already predicted. The science, okay, let us think so, like all these books were written for time pass. All these 600 books, and at least I know at least 1,000 Talapatras. The unpublished matter across the country might be in lakhs, I don't know. But I alone know about 1,000 Talapatras related to Rasa Shastra. So all these textbooks, possibly you name it as they were written as time pass. Okay, fine. When we read at least any of the textbook, might be I take it as a standard, as a Rasaratna Samuchay. I do believe this as a Sampurna Grantha. I really honor this textbook because it's primarily with the Chikitsa Siddhantas. The textbook speaks about the following characters. It speaks about Grahya Lakshana. Grahya Lakshana, definitely it is much related to the geological department to identify a particular rock or a crystal. But most important thing is the Acharya has explained the Grahya Lakshana in respect to the clinical setup. When he speaks about Abraka, he speaks what will happen in case if a person will take a Shweta Braka in respect to the health setup. What happens to him in case if he takes a Krishna Braka? What happens to a person if he takes a Rakta Braka? What happens to him if he takes a Mlacha Tamra? What happens to him if he take a Nepala Tamra? So these are the types of metals and minerals which are being explained in the textbook, and Acharya has explained the geological sourcing in respect to the health setups. Means he is a clinician. He never believed in another aspects, even though he was geologically so strong, even he was having such a rich knowledge on chemistry, but still he believed in the clinical setups. He explains all the toxic symptoms, he explains all the significant issues right from the Graha Lakshana, identification of the drug, and I will say the treatment starts from the Graha Lakshana. Once you select a prime drug, possibly your patient is fine. Why? Just because of the reason most of the drugs which are there in Rasashastra act on multidimensional view. It is called as a protein hub theory, wherein you have a hub. It's a combined nature. The same drug can act at multiple levels. The same drug acts on cardia, the same drug acts on liver, the same drug acts on kidney, the same drug acts on hemopietic system, the same drug acts on brain. So this is a fantastic phenomena called as a protein hub theory, which is very much possible with the Rasadravya. The next concept what did Acharya think about is the Shodhana. Because it has been directly procured from the earth crust, it need to be purified. It need to be potencified. I don't use the term purified. It is to be potencified. Upgrade it, make it homologous. It's an irendriya substance, make it a sendriya. Make a heterogeneous substance into homogeneous substance. So there he has adopted the principles of Shodhana. So during the principles of Shodhana, Acharya has again correlated them to that of the toxins related to the clinical setup. He asked, in case if you don't do the Parada Shodhana in a proper way, the person will land up into this dosha. In case if you did not do the Tamra Shodhana in a proper way, he lands up into Ashtadoshas. In case if you don't do proper Shodhana of Abraka, he lands up into this particular dosha. So he has specified it clinically. So our Acharya was a clinician, no doubt in that. Because those drugs, when they were being to be done with that of the Shodhana procedure, it has to be significantly identified to that of the Graha Lakshana, then the Shodhana based on the clinical setup. The next thing is a further process of Marana and later on with Amrutikarana, wherein the Acharya has asked us to keep about the attitudes of converting the heterogeneous substance into homologous in respect to the nanoscience, wherein you convert it into a microfine pulverized material as that of Marana, where you and it's a complex molecule. I don't say the basmas are a very simple molecules where you get that of XRD or XRF reports in today's laboratories. Copper sulfate, cupric oxide. No, I don't believe in those things because there are other thousands of drugs which has not been evaluated in the XRDs, which is not taken into the group where you need to identify them. Instead, it is always meant to be very important, like it has to be evaluated from every drug process and next making a biological drug designing. So that becomes a Marana Siddhanta. Again, Marana, it's very specific, wherein you try to identify the drug in respect to the clinical setup and try to prescribe it. You need a Bhavana Dravya for that. You add some other substances where you have the whole concept of samskara there, as Toya Sanikarsha, Agni Sanikarsha, Toya Agni Sanikarsha, Shaucha, Manthana, Desha, Kala, Kala Prakarsha, Bhajana, Vasana. All these concepts are being included into these procedures. Means it is a clinical setup to ascertain the security of an individual. The next is Amrutikarana. After Basma, the Acharya would have given off the Basma to the patient, but he did not give it. What did he do? He has re-established the security in respect to the Amrutikarana. Avashesha dosha nirharanartha, the process. In case if at all by mistake you have left out some doshas during the Shodhana and Marana, it has to be processed into Amrutikarana. And that particular Amrutikarana, it should be done to make it Amruta Tulya. It becomes just like a nectar. It becomes just like a nectar, and then it has been administered to an individual. And the most fascinating thing is a Bhasma Siddhi Lakshana. I will say it is an engineering product. What he has done is a chemical engineering product. It is a sort of a high establishment of how the Acharya could have really established this list of features as a Bhasma Siddhi Lakshana. For example, you take small amount of Bhasma, you rub it in between the fingers, and in case if the Bhasma enters into the natural folds of the fingers, then you claim it as Samyak Bhasma Siddhi Lakshana, and it is named as Rekha Purna. When you read into the textbook of dactylography, the science of fingerprinting, the distance between the two natural folds of the fingers of an individual is ranging from 2 to 6 microns. In the sense, if the Bhasma can enter into these minute channels between 2 to 6 micron, means the particle size determination of that particular Bhasma is less than 6 microns. Means it can easily get assimilated into the body. It can show its therapeutic efficacy in the body. This is nothing but something like what you do the scanning electron microscope today, SCM, or particle size determination. Unless and until you have it in the form of a micropulverized or a nanoparticle of this kind, the absorption is question mark in the body, or it goes away as a macromolecule outside. It doesn't gets absorbed into the system. So this is the Bhasma Siddhi Lakshana. He has ascertained all the Bhasma Siddhi Lakshanas. We need at least 1 hour to discuss only about the Bhasma Siddhi Lakshana. It is out of the preview, so I'm going to the next topic. So Bhasma Siddhi Lakshanas are established only on the grounds of the clinical protocols. Again, they are not based only for a time pass or just to have a assignment to establish the books or the textbooks. So these Bhasma Siddhi Lakshanas are very much essential to prescribe them before you give it to the patient. Added to this, many of the practitioners do ask me, sir, what should I know? Because I don't prepare this Bhasmas myself. I just purchase it from some product in the market, or sometimes I take it from any of my friend who is preparing them or something. Like, how can I ascertain that I prescribe it to my patient? How can I dispense it to my patient? I will say whatever the Bhasma is, you take a very small quantity of that Bhasma, put it into a petri dish, and add a solution called as a potassium molybdate solution. It's easily available. It's a very economical chemical which is available in the market. So add 1 or 2 drops of it. It's just like watery consistency. In case if the color of this solution changes to blue, green, or any of the derived colors, then still you have the free metallic ions in that. It wouldn't have converted into a total Bhasma. Instead, the water-like content is still present in the form of a water-like content, even after adding it into the Bhasma. Then the Bhasma is Sampurna. There is no free metallic ions in it. So you can ascertainly give it like there is no free particles of metals, any metals in your Bhasma, and it can be given to the patient. This is a process where you can accomplish within 2 to 5 minutes in your clinic. You don't need a huge laboratory. You don't need to refer it or no need to give it to any lab investigations. Take very, very small quantities, even though it is for an Bhasma. You might ask me, sir, it's so expensive. Should I take it for study? There is no harm. You take it a very small component. It might be it's around 2 milligrams or 5 milligrams, not an issue. Very small quantity. Add around 1 to 2 ml or 3 ml of this potassium molybdate solution. Then later on have an observation for 3 to 5 minutes. Sometimes you can observe for even 20 minutes or half an hour in case if you want to over secure yourself. In case if there is a color change, then you're not supposed to prescribe it to your patient. In case if it doesn't have any color changes, then yes, you can directly give it to your patient. It's very safe. Of course, the most important thing added to the Bhasma Siddhi Lakshana and also the ascertainment what you can do clinically is the dosage forms, which will be coming in the eventual slides. The clinical administration and observation. At least my circle, my teacher is 92 years now. He is with the Rasa practice possibly from past 45 years. And he himself is consuming the Rasa medicines every day. Me, I'm practicing with Rasa Shastra at least from past 20 years. I did not find any of the problems in my patients. I did not find any toxic symptoms. I did not find any renal failure. In most of my presentations, if at all you people would have seen over the YouTube or anywhere on the Facebook, etc., you would have been seen many of my case reports, wherein I give it for so many days, and even in the later part, I do establish the renal function test, liver function test, hemophytic investigation, CPC, everything is being usually carried out to reassess yourself like your Bhasmas really did not harm the patient. I definitely don't need any of these investigations. It is for the satisfaction of the colleagues and other persons where they are worried about to give about the Rasa medicines to the patients, where it can be periodically re-evaluated and it can be administered. So this is about the clinical administration. You give in a prescribed dose, you use your yukti and you give it to the patient. It is really safe. When I speak about the safety issues, I do remember about one small issue. You have a knife in your kitchen. You can kill a person with it. Is it harmful? Yes, it is harmful. Do you discard it? No. Why? You use it cautiously. You cut the vegetables, you cut the fruits, you use it in your kitchen and utilize it, but with a caution. Similarly is the rasa medicines. They are extremely beneficial clinically oriented drugs, provided you use it in a proper way. Anything which is used without a safety profile, which is used without a proper knowledge on it, then it is going to hamper or it is going to kill the person. Even water could be toxic. Even a simple herb can be toxic. The amount of food you eat could be toxic in case if it is irrational. So everything should be rational. So this is about the clinical administration and observations wherein you need to know about before you go into the rasa practice. And this is what you can do when you are in your clinic and try to assess yourself with the safety profiles. You can frequently ascertain them with the frequent lab investigations, at least the prime lab investigations, not all the lab investigations. Don't dump the patient with lots of lab investigations, at least very few of them. The next most important point is how long can I prescribe it? Can I give it for a shorter period? Should I give it for a shorter period, or should I give it for a longer period, or how is it? So can I prescribe these rasa medicines for a pretty long time? What does the textbook speaks about? None of the textbooks have asked me to stop a particular rasa medicine after a certain period. Most of the textbooks have claimed like the medicines should be taken, the rasa medicine should be taken for a pretty long time. They should be given for a very long time. Acharya from Rasarnava and Anandakanda explains of taking the rasa medicines for lifetime. They ask her Nityam Swarnam, Nityam Rasam. You have some references. Anandakanda explains about the daily involvement of a Parada and Gandhaka to be taken every day, which is a rasa medicine, which is to be taken for lifetime. It should not be taken for 1 week, 10 days, 15 days. It should be taken for lifetime. This is what the references speaks about. When I read the chapter where the Mrityunjaya Rasa or Tribhuna Kirti or Ananda Bhairava is being explained, none of the references has asked me not to prescribe the medicine after said period, because none of the shlokas have been accomplished in that particular way. Then what happens? My clinical experience speaks about it. I say like the patient's requirement. In case if it's a simple case of rhinitis, you would have given the medicine for 3 days or 5 days or 1 week. The patient is fine. Definitely you can discontinue, need not extend it. But there are certain clinical conditions. Say for example, some autoimmune disorders, like you have a patient with SLE, like you have a patient with rheumatoid arthritis, like you have a patient with ulcerative colitis. You have certain other autoimmune conditions, might be it is a case of malignancy, Parkinson's disease. So these are few of the disorders which are very chronic. These are the disorders like Yagya, wherein the medicines can be given, needed to be given for a pretty long time. Autoimmune condition is one such a set of disorders wherein your body has turned to be your enemy. It is unable to recognize your cells. So on that grounds, what you need to do, you have to educate your body and treat the conditions. So in autoimmune conditions, what I do, might be say example for a rheumatoid arthritis case, my prescriptions in most of the rheumatoid arthritic cases is Mrityunjaya Rasa, Arogyavardhini and Dashamulak Vata as an Anupanam. In severe conditions wherein the patient has got a crippling pain, then I am giving him for Jayamangal Ras for a set period of 3 days, 5 days, 1 month. Once I find the patient is comparatively stable, I withdraw the Jayamangal Rasa. Mrityunjaya Rasa, Arogyavardhini and Dashamula is given for a pretty long time till the patient becomes asymptomatic. The patient doesn't have any pains, discomfort, swellings anywhere in the body, none of the Amavata Lakshanas. Then what I do, I start him with that of Hemagarbha Potali, and also I start with the particular conditions like Tamragarbha or Pravalagarbha for a pretty long time. Why do I give these prescriptions? When I read the textbook regarding the Hemagarbha Potali, he speaks about the Ojo Vartana, Rasayana, Sarva Vyadhihara, Rajekshma like conditions where it can be prescribed. So I need to rectify the autoimmune condition, and gold is one of the best immunomodulator. So I need any prescription which can act as a rasayana and which can be given for a long time to the patient in the in between the episodes. In autoimmune disorders, commonly what happens, you have episodes of illness. The patient have either arthritis or psoriasis or any such presentations. You treat him for 1 or 2 months or 3 months, the patient is fine. Then he becomes asymptomatic. You discontinue the medicine. In another 3 or 4 months, again the things will relapse. So this is not a Sampurna Chikitsa. This is only Ardha Chikitsa. What you need to accomplish it, you need to prescribe him such a medicine that it can stimulate his immune system to such an extent, like you don't have a second and third episode of illness to the patient. Even though the person crosses years together, he should not have a relapsation. Then your treatment is said to be accomplished. So for that, what you need to do? You need to definitely prescribe to him such a drugs which acts on immune system, like you have Tamra, like you have the gold, the Swarna Basma. So once you give these things, it is going to definitely support to the patient. It is going to support to the patient in an extensive way. So on that grounds, what I do prescribe to the patients with Hemagarbha. Initially, I give it in a dumping dose. Might be it's a classical dosage of nearly 8 grams per month. Then later on, what I do, I try to reduce it after 2 or 3 months. Once I ascertain like the patient's Dhatu Sarata has been accomplished, I'm least bothered about the lab investigations. I do definitely go for the lab investigations just to see about in case if at all I need to reascertain anywhere. I don't want to take any chances, but my accomplishments or my protocol should have the grounds as that of the Dhatu Sarata. Whether the Dhatu Sara of an individual is right, then what I do, I try to prescribe the medicine to the patient for a pretty long time. Once I confirm like the patient Dhatu Sarata is being accomplished, then I reduce the dosage. Instead of giving for 8 grams per month, I try to make it for 6 grams. In case if the patient is still fine, try to get it for 4 grams per month. And try to maintain it with 1 or 2 grams, which acts as Rasayana. And try to keep it to the extent possible. Try to keep it for a very long time, so that the patient might need it when he turns aged. Shiryate anenaiti shariram. He deteriorates every day. Try to see if at all you can manage this. So this is what it speaks about the clinical conditions as a patient requirement in respect to the disease. Then what about my clinical experiences speaking about this particular aspect? I do have many of the patients, say for example, like that of malignancy. I do have certain cases where I'm treating from past 16 and 18 years. The patients are on Rasa medicines till date. The patients are on Rasa medicines till date, and their serum creatinine is really very much normal. The patient is alive, and even I am alive. So these are the live examples to say about the clinical experiences. I had the cases like the rheumatic heart disease, where I'm giving them with the same compositions as that of the Mrutyunjaya Arogya Vardhini, and I'm giving them with Arjuna Rest as an Anupanam. I'm giving it at least from past 12 years. I do have cases with psoriasis where they don't have any episodes, and still they are on very small dosage of medicines. Forget about the patient. I myself am taking mercury, sulfur and gold at least from past 20 years, and I am alive in front of you people. So this is just to say about what the clinical experiences will teach you in respect to the duration of the Rasa medicines. People are worried to give one mandala. This is what I named the fourth character as myths. It is being mentioned in Arogyavardhini and some other formulations, like within one mandala, the medicine will cure Kushta. So people have redefined it, stating like the Rasa medicines should not be prescribed more than one mandala prayoga. It's a wrong statement. The way what Acharya has explained us is within one mandala it is going to cure Kushta. Means in case if it is a deep rooted one, if it is Bahudoshavasa, in case if the patient Prakriti or Vikruti is not supporting the treatment modalities, or Nidana Parivarjana is not being done by the patient, then you have the disease to extend. And you need to treat him. You cannot discontinue their medicines. I have seen some practitioners where they give it for 1 month or 2 months, they stop it, the Rasa medicines. And they believe so something like you need to give some herbal drugs or you discontinue the treatment and after that again re-establish the Rasa medicines. No, that should not be given. I don't have any classical references on that grounds and I'm not following it in my practice. I do give it ascertained to all my patients till the disease is being addressed well. In case if there is no relapsation of the disease, the patient is totally fine, ascertained, then I discontinue the treatment. I don't even want to dump the medicines to the patients. So these are the other conditions wherein the patient, like you have the cerebral atrophy. The patient is, because age-wise the atrophy will go to increase because Vata. Vayoratri Bhukthanam Tenta Madhyadika Krama. So you have Vata Bhuishta during the age. Then the person is starting having cerebral atrophy. I am giving him Apragarva Potali from past 15 years. The patient is fine. The patient is totally normal. These are the cases of CA. So malignancy conditions wherein once the patient is out of the illness, once you have treated him, he is out of the illness. The patient might be, he would have opted a chemotherapy and other supportive therapies. Might be the patient did not opt it. It's a left to the patient. It's a left to the patient choice. And he is on Ayurvedic treatment. He is on Rasa medicines. He is scared. Many of my patients are scared to discontinue the treatment. They say, no, sir, I'm not ready to discontinue the medicine. Even though it is in a smaller doses, I would like to have small doses of medicine for a pretty long time because I'm scared of the illness. I have lots of family responsibilities. I don't want to die now. Then they take it for a long time. I give them on the grounds of Rasayanartha, but not on Vyadhi Shamanartha. Classical dosage is 8 grams. The Rasayana dosage is 2 grams per month. So this is the dosage I have altered, and these are the patients where I am treating. These are the various conditions where I am treating for pretty long time. Acharya Sushruta has included the Swarna as a Rakshogna Gana. So it is going to protect you. So till what time you want to get protected by yourself, you need to take Swarna Basma. The very first medicine prescribed by the Ayurveda Acharyas in the lifetime is a Swarna Prashana. Once a child is born, we give the Swarna Basma. It is a Rasa medicine. So when a child, a neonate who is just born is able to digest the Swarna Basma, what about the adults? Can't they digest it? Don't you have that much of confidence on the Jata Ragni or the Sharira Agni? We have to prescribe them based on those grounds and try to extend our treatment modalities. So these are few of the case reports of the patients. Like cerebral atrophy. I'll say give him Abrakavasma. Usually I give Abragarva Potali for all these patients with cerebral atrophy. I have an excellent response, including the MRI reports before and after treatment, that they are totally fine. They haven't even switched back to the atropic status even after re-establishing the investigations like MRI or CT brain after some 3 years or 5 years after the medicinal intake. Similarly, with the malignant cases, I have given you an example of 15 to 18 years where I have extended the treatment modalities. So should I give only one or more Rasa medicines together? One thing is, no textual references have claimed about to give only one Rasa medicine and no other should be given in supportive. And there is no contraindications in mixing more than one Rasa medicine. Say, for example, I want to mix Tamra Basma, Swarnamakshika Basma, Godanti Basma, Pravala Pishti, Madhuyashti Churna. I make a combination and give. You should see my clinic. It is something like a Panbeda stall. I have all these Basmas, nearly 250 products of Rasa medicines. And all these medicines, I have kept it in the racks. As per the patient's requirement, I take something like a pan dealer will put so many content into one betel leaf and give it to you. So I mix up all this content in a small box and I give it to the patient. I don't have any restrictions of giving only one medicine. I give it in cluster. I give it in group. You can definitely give the Rasa medicines in groups. It is not going to have any contraindications. When you are giving Tamra Basma, there is no contraindication that you are not supposed to give him Loha Basma. When a person is taking Swarna Basma, there is no contraindication that he should not take Rajata Basma. Any medicine can be given, no contraindications. I do give many of the times around 4 to 6 Rasa medicines together with 125 milligram twice or thrice a daily, depending on the patient's condition. So I don't have any textual references, so I am giving. Then what is that particular thing? The textbook has explained this particular practice as the Chikitsa Siddhi. When you prescribe a Rasa medicine to an individual, it is called as Chikitsa Siddhi. This is also the reference from Ananda Kanda Kriya Karana Ullasa. I'll show you the reference in next slide. So this is about the Chikitsa Siddhi by giving the Rasa medicines. The number of Rasa medicines in one prescription and the clinical experiences. So when I have a case, say for example, with a simple headache or rhinitis or some arthritis, my combination is only 2 to 3 basmas. When I have a case with malignancy like condition with metastasis and all, then the combination is somewhere around 8 to 10 basmas, depending on the patient's condition. So this is what I am practicing. You have a condition like multiple organ failure, like you have a patient with respiratory failure, cardiovascular failure, renal failure, hematological failure, immunological failure. When you have this cluster of illnesses, might be it is called as Rajakshma, where you have a syndrome-like presentations. In case if you are really able to identify the clinical benefits by giving only one basma, like as you see in case of Abraka basma and Swarnamakshika basma, they're said to be an excellent, because the Falashruti explains as Sarva Vyadhi. For these two drugs, he explains as Sarva Vyadhi. When you have a cluster of disorders, then we use a Swarnamakshika basma or Abraka basma. So similarly, when you don't have Swarnamakshika or Abraka basma with you, then you can give a combination of basmas. When you have so many illnesses in an individual, then we give a cluster of medicines as well and try to see the clinical significance is being established in the patient's condition by giving these medicines. Similarly, can I prescribe a rasa and herbal medicine together? Few more Vaidyas do ask this question. There is again no textual reference stating like a rasa and a herbal medicine should not be mixed. It is also emphasized you have some thousands and lakhs of combinations wherein you have a metal and a herbal mixture together. Like you have the Chandra Prabhavati, you have Arogyavardhini, in a number of examples wherein the metals and minerals or herbs are being mixed together. This particular mechanism of mixing a herb with a mineral or a metal is called as Deha Siddhi in Ayurveda. So what is this Deha Siddhi? I'll be explaining in the eventual slide. Concept of the chelation and supportive management in pharmacodynamic and pharmacokinetic. This is a very important phenomenon because people are worried about the heavy metal toxicity. Once you give the medicine, we are always with a cross finger stating like, if at all it's going to hamper the patient's condition. Most of the herbs do have the chlorophyll as an ingredient, and this chlorophyll is a metallic chelator. Metallic chelators are the substances which doesn't make any of the metal to accumulate in the body. It enwraps it and pushes it out through the fecal matter. It doesn't allow it to settle in the body. It doesn't allow the basmas to settle in the kidney, liver, or elsewhere in the body. It always try to see that the condition is being well supported. So this is going to definitely alter the pharmacodynamic and pharmacokinetic properties because of this chelation therapy which you have when you support it with a herbal and a mineral or a metallic component. And added to that, rasa medicines acts as a drivers. They acts as a targeted drug delivery system. Rasa is having a synonym called as a Suta. Suta means a charioteer. Charioteer equivalent terminology for the present generation is a driver. They take the substance to the target in case if it is being tagged with a proper substance. Say, for example, I want to do the shodhana of Gugulu with various compounds or various substances which has been given in the textbook. When I do the Gugulu or Shilajatu Shodhana with Dashamula Kvata, it acts as a Shodhara. The same Gugulu when I do Shodhana with Kshira, it acts as a Rasayana. The same Gugulu when I do the Shodhana with Gomutra acts as a Lekhana. The Gugulu when I do Shodhana with that of Trifala acts as a Anulomana, Srotos Ramsana in properties. When I do the Marana of Abraka with the Kasamarda Swarasa, it is best Shwasa Kasagna. When I do the Marana of Abraka Basma with Erandapatra Swarasa, it is very good in case of Vata Vyadhi. So I have changed the biological molecule. I have changed the pharmacodynamic and pharmacokinetic property of it. How? Because I have tagged it with various principles of treatment during the pharmaceutical processing. So the rasa medicine acts as a driver. You tag it with a suitable anupanam, it goes and acts in a particular way. This is called as a target drug delivery system. Paul Ehrlich in 1931 is the first scientist who has claimed the target drug delivery. Fortunately or unfortunately, Ayurveda Vaidyas could identify this concept of target drug delivery right from the period of the Samhitas. So most of the rasa medicines are targeted to the organ system. Say, for example, you have specific drugs which acts on liver. You have specific drugs which acts on spleen. You have specific drugs which acts on heart. You have specific drugs which acts on brain. So this is about the target drug delivery system, because it is being biologically designed with other herbs and minerals in such a way that the substance is being absorbed more in a particular way in a particular system of the body. So these are the benefits of the rasa medicines when it acts as a driver or as soother. The combination of metals and minerals and herbs together makes a person as a successful clinician. This is what Acharya asked you to in Anandakanda Amrutikarana Ullasa. Sir Rasah Kramate Dehe Siddhe Sambhavantihi. See, he is asking, Sir Rasaha Kramate Dehe. It gets assimilated. It's not a placebo effect. It doesn't mean that the metal or a mineral enters into the body and gets evacuated through the fecal matter. Kramate Dehe, it assimilates all over the body. Siddhaya Sambhavanti, it causes the chikitsa siddhi. When you give a mercury or a metallic preparation, it causes a siddhi. Rasayane tu ya prokta mulika deha siddhidaha. In case if the metal or a mineral is given along with a mulika, then it causes the deha siddhi. When you mix a herb and a mineral together, it causes the deha siddhi. This is a reference you have from Anandakanda Amrutikarana Ullasa, 4th chapter. So this is very important, wherein Acharya has asked us to consider a combination of a metal and a mineral together and try to prescribe it to the patient. Any contraindications in specific to the age, condition, or in case of any disease. The textual references claims about no contraindications in respect to the age. Only one reference what you have for the textual references is he explains about the Balakala, the Apekshaya. So you don't have any contraindications. You have a medicine like Arogyavardhini. I do give for a neonate who is recently born or just born, to a age-old person as well. So this is about in respect to the age, condition, or in any disease. So my clinical experiences have thought of practicing them even in pediatric practice to geriatric practice. In most of the clinical conditions in respect to all ages, I don't have any age bars. Only thing is the posology or the dosage form will alter. I don't give the 125 milligram to a neonate. I don't give it in a pediatric case. Instead, that is the dose which I give it in most of the patients who are in a normal adult, in respect to the condition, acute or chronic. If it is an acute onset wherein the dosage might be a bit more, chronic onset, you need a long duration of medicine to rule out it, because you might have a Lina Doshavastha. You might be having a deep-rooted doshas. You might be having multiple involvement of the dosha doshas. So in a chronic illness, the dosage formation is different. So the dosage is being altered based on these conditions. But in respect to age, no. In respect to disease, yes. If it is alpa doshavastha, then the medicines required is very much less. If it is bahu doshavastha, then the medicines required is more. There are certain conditions, say for example, the pain management in malignancies, especially where you have a severe pain and the patient is unable to tolerate it. In all these conditions, I'm making the patient to sit in my OPD and ask him to take the medicine for every hourly basis. Every 1 or 2 hours throughout the day from morning to evening, I prescribe him some rasa medicines. He will be dumped with nearly 1 gram of metallic basmas per day, but with cautiousness, definitely with all the measures needed for that particular patient is to be carried out or it should be kept. And it has been prescribed because there is a severe vitiation of the doshas where it has to be controlled all of a sudden and try to see if the patient is being responded very well. And in any disease, depending on the doshas and the doshas, patya specific to the drug, you have certain patya mentioned in case of mercury like kakarashtaka gana. I ask to the best that the patient should avoid the kakarashtaka. And added to that were certain Ushnavirya substances, like you have the Haratala preparations, like arsenic components. In case if you have anywhere in the body, when you are frequently giving or giving it for a long time, try to see that you give them with the Shitavirya substances. So, or else the general protocol is Patya as per the disease, Rogochitam. As per the disease, Patya has been indicated. There are few Patyas related to the drugs like mercury and arsenic. So those drugs could be followed to the extent possible in a clinical setup. You have a question like whether based on the status, whether can it be given in pregnancy. I do definitely give the rasa medicines in pregnancy. I do give them right from the preconception period, male and the female partners are being given with the rasa medicines at least 3 months prior. I give them with hemagarbha to the male partner and rajatagarbha to the female partner. expected like in 3 months they might conceive. In the pregnancy, I do give hemagarbha along with masanumasa to the pregnant woman for 9 months. I do give nearly 18 grams of basma in this 9 months. And later on, the medicine for the mother is being discontinued and Swarna Basma Prashana starts to the child, to the neonate, right from the operation theatre. In case if it is possible and the doctor permits, and if the patient is having a belief, then I start giving the administration of Swarna Basma right from the labor ward, not labor ward, from OT, operation theatre. In case, or I start giving it from the labor ward, right from day one, before the child will have the mother's milk. So the dosage I give is nearly 1 gram of Swarna Basma, which is Ashtasamskarita Paradamarita Swarna Basma. 1 gram in 1 year of the child's life, we are prescribing them with that of the medicine of Swarna Basma. So during pregnancy, if at all you need any other medicines also, I do prescribe. I don't have any hesitation, provided you re-establish like the medicine preparation is really genuine. You have prepared it in a proper way, then it can be given. You have conditions like oligohydramnios, eclampsia, post-eclampsia, pre-eclampsia. You have other complications like bicornuate uterus. Might be you have some other complications of pregnancies. I am giving them with the of rasa medicines. Even I have few of my students who take rasa medicines throughout pregnancies. I have given it for my own children. My wife has taken it in the whole of pregnancies. So we have totally given lots of rasa medicines during pregnancy, and I did not find any problem, any complications either in the mother nor in the child. My first patient where I was in my house surgeon, where I have given them the rasa medicine during the pregnancy and also after labor, Swarna Prashana to the child, the same protocol. The person, it was a son which was born and he's also got married and he got children today. Means as per the modern science where you need to study the 3 generations. I have seen in this short period with the 3 generations, like on all the 3 generations are fine. I have treated the mother, his son, and his son has got another son now. He is a very small baby, and all the 3 generations are fine and safe. So what more re-establishment do you want while prescribing the rasa medicines? So this is about the pregnancy. The second thing is about the renal complaints. So even in renal complaints, no textbook has asked us to ward off the rasa medicines. I am prescribing the rasa medicines to the patients suffering from the kidney disease. We have a notion, a myth stating like heavy metal toxicity. Who is giving heavy metals to the patient? I'm not giving any heavy metals to the patient. I have prepared Abraka Basma, I have prepared Tamra Basma, I have prepared Loha Basma. They have become light now because I have converted the very nature of it. There is no dhatutva nature in the Basma. So it is entirely a different specimen now. It is a different protocol wherein I need to treat. I name it as a, it's not a heavy metal, it's a light metal. Because it starts to float on water, it is starting sort of surfactant action on the water. You have so much of things which can be analyzed. So even in renal complaint, I don't have any complications in advising any of the rasa medicines. Of course, when the patient's bala is less, the dosage is very less. I do prescribe them with a very small dosage form, but still I do prescribe. In acute renal failure or chronic renal failure also, I am prescribing the drugs like Abraka, Swarna. I have given them with Tridhatu. I am prescribing the patient with that of Badarashma, Trinakanta. There are so many metals and minerals and so many components of rasa medicines which I am prescribing in case of renal complications. Even in case of geriatric practice, I'll say in Vruddhavastha it is very essential because most of the rasa aushadhis or rasayana in action. Shiryate anainaiti shariram. Usually there is vata bhuishta. Prakrutitata vayu vata bhuishta in the geriatric people, and in all these conditions it is always beneficial in case if you can give them some vata shamana dravya or a rasayana dravya, and the excellent choice could be a rasa medicine. So the rasa medicine is a rasayana and also vata shamana in nature. So it is very much extensively used in geriatric practice. So it is used in male, female, children and all age group of patients. It is used in all age group of patients. It is also used in all sorts of infections. It is used in all sorts of infections, including a viral, bacterial, and all sorts of infection pathologies also, and also in traumatic conditions. So many traumatic conditions are there. We are prescribing, say for example, you have Krimi Mudgara Rasa, Krimi Kutara Rasa, you have Tamra Basma, you have Apraka Basma, you have Swarnamakshika Basma. These are being prescribed in all these conditions. So these are the various sects of zones of life wherein we are prescribing the rasa medicines very safely. Any general guidelines for the common dosage form? The textbook has explained half rati, 1 rati, half to 1 rati. So many things are being explained in the textbook. And it's a general guidelines. That is a general guidelines. But specifically, the textbook has explained bala kala adi apekshaya. You need to fluctuate the dosage form based on his physical strength, mental strength, kriya kala of an illness, what stage of the illness the person is about, and what is the dosage of medicine you want to prescribe. What is the condition the patient is suffering from, and based on that you are supposed to prescribe him with that of the medicines. So prescribing these medicines, the patient would have got good relief by considering the bala. Say for example, the person is a Mako man with nearly 80 to 90 kgs. I do prescribe him with the 250 milligram thrice a day, whether it is Abragabasma or Pravalpishti. I am prescribing them with this particular dosage form. If it is a person with nearly a moderate build, might be it's around 50 or 60 kgs, I am giving them with 125 milligram thrice daily. So you can fluctuate the dosage. In case if it is Bahudosha Avastha, wherein you have the multiple involvement of the various doshas and dhatus in the body involved in forming a samprapti, then the dosage is very high. Once you ascertain like the condition is under control, then you can reduce it, then you can withdraw it, or you can reduce the dosage forms depending on the clinical presentations. So this is about the bala kala di apekshaya, which is also explained in the same textbooks. And even in Charaka Samhita Acharya is explained, the dosage form explained in the textbook is only a skeletal work, a outer sketch. You are supposed to identify the actual dosage form on this background and try to prescribe it to the patient. There are many conditions, like I had a case with ICU where he had a parenchymal liver disease. He was in a cirrhosis of liver. I have prescribed him with 2 TDS of Arogyavardhini, 2 TDS of Ekrupli Hariloha, Tamragarpa Puttali, nearly half gram per day. I have given him with Kumari Asavaja and Anupanam, and the patient is survived and even is alive even today. He has walked out his ICU. Once I prescribe this, I do have the scanning report of the patient before treatment and after treatment. The patient's parenchyma disease is extensively repaired within 20 or 30 days. The scanning report says it's a total normal figure what you find after this period. So this rejuvenation, which is so quick, it's based on the dosage form. Or else people are worried enough to give the Arogyavardhini with 1 TDS. They say, should I give 1 TDS? Is 1 OD or 1 BD is not sufficient? No, it is not sufficient. Do we need to think about the dosha, dosha, kala, vaya, etc.? So what does the textbook speaks about? There is a reference stating, like in Vaishya Ratnavali, like na doshanam, na deshanam, vaya, in that way. Why this particular thing? But what did my clinical experiences have taught me? My clinical experiences have taught me we have to definitely look upon the dosha, samprapti, vaya, kala, desha, everything, and then prescribe the medicine. There are many drugs like Abraka, which is a Shita Virya. I need to give it to reduce the hot flushes in an individual. I need to prescribe such drugs in the disorders related to the Rasan Raktavashotas. I do have many drugs which is very much related to that of the particular dosha. I have n number of drugs which acts on Vata. There are so many drugs which acts only on Pitta. There are so many drugs which acts on Kapha. I have so many formulations of the similar kind. Mahavata Vitvamsa Rasa, Sammira Pannaga Rasa. You have Brihatvata Chintamani, Vata Kulantaka Rasa. So they are related to Vata. You similarly have Pitta Antaka Rasa, Pitta Bhanjana Rasa. So these are related to Pitta. Kapha Ketu Rasa, related to the Kapha. So the textbook also have explained about where it is specific about the one dosha, where also it can be given. So it is definitely, it could be really foolish in case if you don't want to establish dosha, dusha and other substances in the patient. We have to establish it. But why this particular sloka has come into existence if in the textbook like that of the 20th century as by Shri Ratnavali is just because of the reason you cannot frame Abraka Basma to be acting only on Vata. Pravalapas max only on Pitta. No, this you cannot ascertain. That is the reason why this shloka has come upon. Because by samskaram gunantaradanam, you can change its very qualities of it. You can make a pravala as Ushna Vaidya and you can make Abraka Shita Vaidya. So you can alter the qualities of it. So on that grounds, you cannot establish a SOP stating on its guna karma only on the grounds of a textual grounds. Because samskaram gunantaradanam, you change a bhavana dravya, you change the qualities of the drug. So these are called as myths of clinical practice in case if you don't see any of those conditions. Can I prescribe them only in emergency conditions or in simple conditions? The textbook speaks about to clinically indicate it in all sets of patients. Give it even in the patients with simple conditions or to that of the grave conditions. It can be generally given in most of the clinical conditions, like you have a simple condition like that of an headache. You can prescribe the patient with the rasa medicines, and also in case of emergency conditions. Wherein I do have lots of emergency cases where I'm handling with that of the rasa medicines. I have treated some cases where they were in the ICUs. There were patients who were critically ill. We have treated the patients where they had emergency conditions. Especially the drugs like that of the potalis, like you have the hemagarba potali, you have abargarba potali, tridhatu garba potali, you have some other drugs like you have Vasanta Kusmakara, Jaymangala. These are drugs of emergency uses which can be given in most of the emergency conditions. When should I use Parpati, Kalviya, Kupi, Pakwan, Potali, Kalpanas? The method, how do you prepare, explains the way how you have to practice. So the first one is about the basmas or the Kalviya Rasayanas, where the guna karma or most of the time pertained. It is, say for example, you handed Kajali in a preparation like Arogyavartini. It is because of its Guru and Saraguna, it does Anulomana. So try to give those Kalviya Rasayanas wherever you expect a Guru Guna to be attributed in an individual, and especially to the disorders related to the Koshta very specifically, and especially related to Vatanulomana. Wherever you expect the Vatanulomana, a Kajali based Kalviya Rasayanas to be given. So similarly, in case if it is a Parpati preparation, Samskaram Gunantanadanam, Samsarga and Samyoga of the Grita, Kadalipatra, Gomaya and Agni Sanikarsha has made this Guru Guna into Guru Guna into Laguguna, Saraguna into Grahi Guna. And this particular property is being changed in Parpati. So Parpatis, even though they are compositions of Paradana Gandhaka in the same way as that of Kajali, they are antagonistic in its clinical property, and they are to be used specifically in the conditions to stop Grahani like Vyadhis, to stop Atisara like Vyadhis. But specifically in the Koshtaja Vyadhis, Parpatis are given in the Koshtaja Vyadhi, and it is very important just because of the reason the Udbhavasthana of the disease is from the Koshta. You have Amashayutta, Pakvashayutta, Rama Pakvashayutta. So in either of these conditions, you are supposed to give them with that of the Parpati Kalpanas whenever you have the Udbhavasthana, or in Kriyakala when you have the Sancha. You have the Chaya Prakopa Avastha of the stages of illness. Try to prescribe it with that of the Parpati Kalpanas. When you want it Anulomana property, give them with that of the Kalviya Rasayana. Kopi Pakwa, wherever you would like to establish the Lagu Guna in an individual. Sukshma Guna, Sara Guna, and also the Lagu Guna. Because Kupi Pakwa, where you have sublimed the substances, you have introduced a Lagu Guna in it. So wherever you establish, like say for example, the person in paralysis is having Anga Gauravata. A person with Urusthamba is having he feels his leg as a log of wood. So he finds a stabdhata there, where you need to increase or stimulate a sort of a chanchalata, a movement in his body. Then you need to prescribe him with that of the Kupi Pakwa preparations, where you establish Sukshma Guna and also Lagu Guna. Potali Kalpanas, where it gives Sthirata, Jadata, and also Anulomana property, because they are with the Guru Guna. Potalis or Guru, they are turning very hard, they are using Guru. Where you have the chanchalata of the doshas, you have fluctuations of the doshas in a clinical setup, then give them with the Potali Kalpanas. You have the patient with tremors, where it is he's having a asthirata in the body, like you see in case of Parkinson's disease, where you see the doshas which they are moving around in malignancy patients, like the conditions wherever you have in autoimmune conditions, where the asthirata of the doshas, asthirata of the dhatus, they are frequently changing their positions. Might be it is because of the Sangha, it is because of the Vimarga Gamana or Ati Pravritti. In all these conditions, we do prescribe them with that of the Potali Kalpanas, by which the condition of the various clinical protocols can be well arrested and can be brought to normal. The most important phenomena, what in case if the blood reports is said to be raised. I am giving the Haratala preparation to a patient, and once I give Haratala preparation, the composition of arsenic is said to be raised in the body for sure. I am prescribed him with that of copper, and copper is being raised in his blood in the form of ceruloplasmins or any other levels. It is said to be raised because you are giving him orally. So when should you worry? You should worry only in case if the person is definitely having a sort of a complications in it. Arsenic, serum level of arsenic is raised, serum level of copper is raised. There are certain clinical conditions established in the Rasa textbooks. In case if you are appreciating any of those lakshanas, then it is important to give the antidotes. Most of the antidotes of the Rasa medicines are explained in Brahat Rasa Rajasundara. The universal antidote, something like Gandhaka, is being explained. You simply in the clinical experiences speaks about giving the cream of milk, which palliates the most of the conditions of most of the metallic irritations in the gut. So it acts as a very good chelator. It acts as a demulsifier, and it is going to remove it out. So this is going to support the individual to an extensive way. So this is how you can establish yourself. But seeing raised arsenic or seeing raised in copper levels or whatever the drug you are giving to the patient, don't get to panic. It is said to be raised because you are administering it. Where should it go? And re-establish it after certain time. Might be it's after 15 days, 1 month. Give it to the patient. You re-establish, reassess yourself. You will find the levels would have come back to the normal. You will see the levels will come back to the normal. Unfortunately, the people who are fond of going for these standards, we are eating breakfast, lunch and dinner 3 times a day. We never established the standards. We never established the toxicity study. No one have established the toxicity study of roti and dal. But they occasionally you're taking medicines. They want to establish all these things. They're scared in case if something goes wrong. The person is taking n number of medicines which are known to have side effects as per their textbooks, but still they are being prescribed very liberally as OTC products. But our medicines are having so many securities like Shodhana, Marana, Amrutikarana. The textbook speaks about the safety profile. It's clinically oriented. Then it is being administered in the clinic. But still the people will have a sort of a question mark in the mind. Can this be given? So these are the notions where you need to alter. And you find some articles where it has been published like a person taking some Vasakasava serum lead level were increased. What happens in case if serum lead level is increased? Is he having any change in his creatinine value? Is he having any change in his liver function test? What's way in case if the possibly the plant wherever it has been cultivated, there is amount of lead composition more, and it has been come into the individual. It's not showing any toxic effect in an individual. So once it has been discontinued and it has been re-established after some 2 weeks or 4 weeks, or in case if the person is having any of the clinical significance as of now as a toxic symptoms, then you need to worry. But still, for the people who are scared about to see about the high values of some metals and minerals in the blood picture, try to administer them with the drugs like a Triphala, Arogyavardhini, Kumaryasava, anything of these kinds, then drastically it will come down. Any of the sulfur preparations, Gandhaka Rasayana, very easily available. So any of these components can be prescribed to the people wherever you have raised of either of these elements in the blood picture, wherein they are asymptomatic clinically. They are asymptomatic clinically. You can prescribe them with either of these components. So based on this, I do say, lol, just laugh at the event because the authorities have claimed Rasa Shastra is a non-clinical department. I have never found this as a non-clinical department, right from the textual references where it is being explained from the assessment of the Graha Lakshana, Shodhana, Marana, Amrutikarana, or clinically prescribing them. The textbook speaks about so many classical indications, therapeutic indications, everything. And clinical experiences, I don't have second business. I have only one business, that is my Rasa practice. I am survived with only Rasa practice. So this is what my clinical experiences have taught me. In case if somebody or either of the authorities say like Rasa Shastra is a non, because we are very much fascinated to compare with other sciences and demark ourselves with respect to the departments. So we are claimed as a non-clinical department. I'll say Rasa Shastra should be claimed as an emergency or a critical care unit. It should be definitely scheduled as one of the best department and clinically oriented, because every shloka or every word in Rasa Shastra textbook is clinically oriented. None of the topics, either it is in the form of a Shodhana, Marana, or anywhere, it's non-clinical, it's a myth. So don't have any notions like Rasa medicines are non-clinical. It's a purely a clinical subject, irrespective of the authorities have claimed it as a non-clinical department. So should I believe this is most important are the texts of the publications? Yes, no, or both? It might hurt many of the feelings, like if at all I speak anything about this particular concept, because I strongly feel I need to refer only the textbook and the clinical experiences of my teachers and my experiences in my clinical practice. I don't believe really much on much of these publications because they tend to change. My textbooks have never changed right from the period of 8th century at least. They are the same. None of the next authors have proved it wrong. None of the next authors have claimed that something was written wrong there. So nothing of those kinds. I don't believe much in publications, because I have seen, I have named many of the publications as even paid scripts, because I have seen some people, they pay small amount of money and they make the articles to publish. And based on that, if I started treating my patient instead of reading a textbook, then I'll be a fool. I need to read the textbook, reassess myself, re-establish it, then I need to do it. Only then I name it as a textbook. My textbooks are the real publications. My textbooks are the clinical publications of my acharyas. So I believe strongly in my textbooks and I prescribe them. I believe in my own textbooks and try to prescribe it to my patients. So these are few of my thoughts and my ideas regarding the thinking process behind the Rasakalpas and the Rasa practices. So anything which you would like, because there were many questions raised, a few I selected and try to discuss today. So in case if you have any more points, it can be definitely taken for the discussion part, and then try to see it. Thank you very much. And again, acknowledge myself to the whole team for giving me this opportunity to share my ideas. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for such a brainstorming and definitely it is a thought-provoking lecture. Sir, can we take some queries?
Yeah, definitely.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, what regarding of Hello.
Hello. Yeah.
Sir. One query is there. What is your opinion regarding the Sukshmikarana?
Sukshma Srotogami, where the drug can enter into the Sukshma Srotas. It is possible only in case if the particle size is very small, which is usually seen with what is named as a nanoparticle. That is called as Basmas. Make it to more fine. Say, for example, like you see in case of Abrakabasma, you can make it Basma in 20 putta, you can make it in 30 putta, 100 putta, and 1000 putta as well. The more and more finer you make, more will be the penetration capacity. Sukshma Srotogami.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sir, kindly give name of your textbook and publication. One question.
No, I don't have any textbook. I refer Asaratna Samucha and other classical textbooks of Rasa Shastra. I don't want to confine myself to any of the recent textbooks. I like to confine to all the classical textbooks.
Yes, sir. One query is there. I had prepared Samir Pannagras, but after some time smell like a Saindava. Was there mistake regarding Agni or all?
No, after some time, is it a very recent time or it is being prepared and after some 1 year, 2 years or 5 years? Because usually you don't have any problem with Samira Pannaga as it's arsenic based. And definitely it is very, very effective. Need not worry about the smell factor there because as an arsenic compound, not Saindava, it should be a smell of garlic. This is a usual thing.
What is your thinking and selection of Rasakalpas to the acute or chronic renal failure?
Yeah, no, renal failure is a output. I would like to say what is the reason for that. In case if it is diabetes, diabetic nephropathy, try to treat diabetes there. I'm giving them with that of Chandra Prabhavati, Arogyavardhini, Asanadikwata. In case if it is because of hypertension, I'm giving them with that of Dashamula, means Chandra Prabha Arogyavardhini with Dashamula. I'm giving them with that of Pravala preparations. If it is an infective pathology, I'm giving them with Saptaparnas and Anupanam. So I go on changing the Anupanam, but the drug is most of the times the same. I give Bhadrashma Pishti. In case if you have the renal parenchyma is altered, then I'm giving them with that of Swarnabhasma and Abrakabhasma, by which the parenchyma is re-established. If you have a hematuria-like condition, then I'm giving Trinakanta Pishti. Only the strength of the individual is being lost because of some renal hampering, then I'm giving Bhadrashma Pishti. Other infective pathologies, I'm giving Shvetaparpati. So it depends on why the renal failure is observed. Very commonly, I see three conditions in India. One thing is uncontrolled diabetes. Second thing is hypertension. Next is drug induced. They have taken lots of irrational way of some painkillers, steroids, or any of the drugs which is nephrotoxic. They have landed up into complications. So these are very commonly observed. The fourth factor which I have seen is IgA syndrome, a genetic impairment. So really not much you can do with a genetic impairment because the person is already around 40 years, 50 years, and he is having IgA syndrome where he is having a genetic impairment. I'm prescribing them with that of the Tridhatu Garbha Pottali there. But whereas a parenchyma, because of either of the reasons it has been altered, then I'm prescribing them with that of very small concentrations of Hemagarbha and Abragarbha Pottali.
Okay, sir. Is there any synergistic or antagonistic effect when the Rasakalpas are given along with the allopathic or otherpathic drugs?
See, I haven't observed any of such things in my patients because I do practice only with rasa medicines, at least to 80-90%. It doesn't mean that I'm against herbal medicines. I am very much supportive and I do take herbal and mineral together most of the times as well. But there are certain patients where they want to take allopathic medicines together. Say, for example, the person is on chemotherapy and you want to give rasa medicines to him. I ask him to take it with a gap of 1 hour or half an hour. I don't find any of the impairment features in the patient. If the patient is come to you with some arthritis, the patient is already taking some antihypertensive or anti-diabetic medicines from allopathy, and you prescribe him some medicine for arthritis. He has not come to you for diabetic management. He's come to you for arthritic management. So you try to see if at all you can manage arthritis and this diabetes together, with or without the patient support, because arthritis is an after effect of the diabetes as well. We know that. But still, in case if you can control the events in that way, that is wonderful. Or else the patient is taking, I am asking them to take a gap of half an hour to 1 hour. But at least me, I haven't seen any drug interaction in any of my patients till now.
Is there any possibility of such interaction?
I doubt. It should not happen.
Rasakalpas in post-COVID recovery phase or in a raised D-dimer condition?
Yeah. I'm prescribing to most of the post-COVID cases. Presently, I had already given a protocol in my previous webinar. So I'm giving them with 4 grams of Hemagarbha per month, 4 grams of Panna Pishti, 4 grams of 10 grams of Tapyadi Loha with Rajata, Abrakabasma 4 grams, Makaradwaja 2 grams. Mixing up all these things with Laghuskutha Mishrana and Madhyeshti Churna, triturate it, and it has been given to the patient in small doses. Might be it's 125 milligram as a pinch dose for 6 to 8 times in a day. Ask the patient to empty this 80 or 100 grams of this end product in 1 month. A mixture of all herbs, minerals, everything in it. And most of the times I do emphasize, even as a patient, to take Prabhakaravati, even though the person is not suffering from any of the cardiac illness, which is possibly thought so. But usually in most of the COVID cases, I have seen the involvement of the Pranavashrotas and the Rasavashrotas. Pranavashrota Moola is Hridaya and Rasavashrotas Moola is Hridaya. So cardiac impairment is very common, at least in post-COVID period. In case if the patient can rejuvenate as early as possible, his cardia is protected, or else it is estimated like 30 to 40% of the post-COVID cases might die because of the cardiac failure, not because of the other pathologies. So whenever you have such complications, it is always better, and there is no harm in taking drugs like a Prabhakaravati. So Prabhakaravati is given as, usually I do prescribe as 1 BD dose, means 125 milligram twice a daily for the patients for the initial 2 weeks in post-COVID period. And for 3 months, 1 OD, 1 tablet once a daily, and discontinue it. For the people who are taking Hemagarbha Potali, it is excellent. Just because of the reason Hemagarbha is also cardiac tonic. It is Ojo Vardhaka. Panna Pishti is also Ojo Vardhaka. I need to see that his Ojas is being well maintained, because in COVID it happens like along with the Pranavashrotas, Rasavashrotas, Dhatu Sarata is lost and Ojo Kshina is being observed. So I need to somehow see his Ojas is being updated. So Hemagarbha is Ojo Vardhaka, Panna is Ojo Vardhaka, and also with this concept I'm giving them with that of Prabhakaravati, because Oja Sthana is Hridaya, Sthana Chikitsa.
Okay. Sir, for non-Rasashastri Vaidyas doing Ayurved practice, they are procuring Ayurveda medicine from the pharmacy. Then in that scenario, how to authenticate such a medicine or such a Rasakalpas?
Now, one thing is there are many good companies across India where they are preparing good Vasmas, possibly even. But it can definitely be seen, as I said, whenever you're worried about whether the Vasmas are prepared properly or not, potassium molybdate solution can be kept along with the, mix it up with the Vasma and try to have an observation for some 5 or 10 minutes. It is a gross assessment. I don't say that is a pinpointing assessment, but you will come to know like there is no free metallic ions in the Vasma. Means there is no apakwa Vasma there. It can be given to the patients very conveniently.
What should be our area of domain of interest, or what should be our new avenues regarding the research in Rasashastra?
I will say, in case if you would like to develop any of the new avenues, try to make it in respect to the clinical setup. I am least bothered in respect to the toxicity profile. I am least bothered to establish like Mrutyunjaya Rasa as Jwaragna. Spend your time of 10 years and scratch your head for 10 years, it's waste. I know Mrutyunjaya Rasa is Jwaragna. My textbook has claimed I'm giving in the clinic, and it is effective. For sure it is effective. Why I want to waste another 10 years on that? Try to give new protocols. Say for example, you have 67 drugs. Is it possible that you can establish more drugs? Say for example, cobalt is not explained. Can you take cobalt? You have Samanya Dhatu Shodhana, you have Samanya Dhatu Shodhana, Marana, everything is being explained. Is it possible to establish cobalt into our subject? Is it possible? I'm not asking, it is possible. Is it possible? Try to make research in those aspects. Try to see whether you can establish them in more number of cases. I have given Mrutyunjaya Rasa in 10 patients, 20 patients, because the university has asked me as a mandatory to take 40 cases. Try to see if at all you can establish it in 60 cases. Try to establish in 1,000 cases. Try to increase the number so that it should be something like close the mouths of these people where they claim like Ayurvedic treatments are only placebo effects. They make no sense. The statement makes no sense. So it has to be closed, means you have to produce them the clinical protocols. What happens in the body, pharmacodynamic, pharmacokinetic, it's really tough job to establish what's really happening. If at all you can reach to that level, it is a hats off job. Uploaded.
Have you any observed the adverse drug reaction of any Rasakalpas during your clinical practice?
Absolutely no. Never in past 20 years. Nor in my circle also. There are so many people in my circle, none of them have established any of the complications because of Rasa medicines.
Yes, sir. Okay. There are some many questions regarding the disease and the drug Rasakalpa combinations. What is your opinion about the heart blocks or the ischemic heart disease?
Yeah, it can be very well managed. I will say you need to give them with the Prabhakaravati, Hemagarbha. We are having cases of these kinds wherein we are treating them. We are having even carotid blocks. We are having other blocks just like you have it with that of the cardia here. We are prescribing them. It depends on how the patient is, what is his prakruti. Either we need to give him Hridayana Rasa or we have to give him Prabhakaravati. Whether we have to give him Nagarjuna Rasa. You have to choose based on his prakruti and try to give it. In case if the patient is having conductive defects, like you have right bundle bunch block or left bundle, any conducting illnesses, then we plan to go for the Hridayana Rasa. In case if there is a hypertrophy, like one left ventricular hypertrophy or right ventricular hypertrophy or anything of those kinds, then in those patients we are specifically going for the Hridayana Rasa. In case, Nagarjuna Rasa. In case if the patient is having blocks, then we are going with the Prabhakaravati. And in all the cardiac conditions, we are going with the Hemagarbha. In case if the patient is non-affordable, then it's a substitute.
Okay. Please tell us your experience of Nagabhasma and the doubts regarding the availability of the raw drug which are used in the Rasa medicine.
I don't have any problem in procuring either of the raw drugs in the Rasa medicine, and I'm many times collecting them by myself in my geological surveys because I need very small quantities for my clinical practice. I don't have any industry that I need to supply for a large scale of people. So I prepare it by myself and I give it to my patient. And added to that, with that of any of the raw drugs, at least 80 or 90 plus percentage of drugs are really available to us conveniently in Indian market. Most of them are really available. My personal museum consists more than 1,000 specimens, all are related to Rasa Shastra. So things are quite easily available. That's not really an issue, like it should not be available. There are very few things. Say, for example, Giri Sindura, Agni Jara, they are also available, but they are very seldom. Hingula, Cinnabar is not available. Agni Jara is not available. Kasturi, like drugs, animal products. So there are certain bans for very few drugs which are not available, or else most of them are really available for us. And I think the second half of the question was something like Nagabhasma. I don't find any problem. Naga is easily available in the market. I prepare Bhasma out of it and I'm using it in my patients. I never find any problem. The first symptom what you find in those patients wherever you're using Nagabhasma is about gastrointestinal complications, because the patient lands up into diarrhea or anything of those kinds. In case if you find the patient is suffering from diarrhea or anything, try to arrest it. Try to give it in a very small dosage and try to build it up. If possible, don't give Nagabhasma as a single drug. Try to give it in a combination. Like you have Trivanga Bhasma, give it in the form of a Pushpadhanva Rasa, give it in the form of a Garvapala Rasa. So try to give it in combinations, if at all. Or you're scared about to give and you would like to give only Nagabhasma, give Nagabhasma mixed up with some a neutral drug, like might be to something like Avipatikara, Godanti, Madheshti, any of these drugs, mix it and try to give it to the patient, where most of the times you don't have any problems or complications in the patients.
Okay. Sometimes with the use of Kasisa Bhasma, the teeth becomes black. Is it due to the improper Shodhana or the side effect?
No, it's not a side effect. You need to give more amount of potas. You haven't totally converted it. Or else a Kasisapasmo makes no problems. You give another 3 puttas and then use it, you'll not have this problem.
Yes. Last question, sir. What is your expectation from budding Ayurveda practitioner and student?
Love the textbook and practice. Don't believe in any other things. We are clinicians. Any department, Ashtanga, Ayurveda, all departments are clinical. Don't demarcate yourself as a non-clinical department and clinical. You are from Sharira Rachana, you're a clinician. You're Sharira Kriya, you're a clinician. You're Rasa Shastra, as a clinician. You're from Kaya Chikitsa, you're a clinician. We don't have any demarcating features stating like either of the things, because my textbook I haven't explained me that concept. We have just tagged ourselves to the modern science, so we feel so it is a clinical and non-clinical departments. Even though you see 1 case per day, 2 cases per day, or 3 cases per day, practice. You are working in an institute, you are a housewife, whatever it is, try to open your clinic at least for 1 or 2 hours a day. See at least 1 or 2 cases at least. That is more than sufficient. That could be a boon. Accumulated, you will gain lots of knowledge. The pleasure what you find in treating a patient, possibly you might not get that bliss even if you are awarded with a Nobel Prize. The patient comes to you with a feel stating like you have given a rebirth to me. I'll say the bliss what you get during that period, because you have sincerely put your efforts to save the patient's life. It's a rebirth. Many of the time when you give medicine for infertility, you make the neonate coming out of some grave disorders during the birth or delivery or anything like. There are parents where they share their parenthood with us because we are doctors and we have saved their children's life. And this bliss you don't get even though you are being funded heavily in respect to finance, nor you are given the highest positions, or you are being awarded in either of the ways. So do practice, become clinicians. Even though you see 1 or 2 cases per day or see 100 or 200 cases per day, it's always you are a clinician.